It's a very good evening to you. We are doing this recording on a Thursday evening. The day's been very pleasant and very busy for Sinjini, our guest today. Sinjini Sengupta is an alumnus of Indian Statistical Institute and a qualified actuary turned award-winning author, speaker, and columnist. I don't know where she gets the time to do all of these. She is the founder of Lighthouse, where she serves the mission to bring hearts to work. And believe it or not, this sounds so close to what I like to do, a heart-to-heart connection. And Sinjini has been so busy that we've not really had the opportunity to chat with each other before today and understand each other. But I do also know that she's spoken on TEDx several times and is a distinguished Toastmaster. I'm very pleased to have her on Life Begins at 40. Welcome, Sinjini.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
So, Sinjini, that's a lot of education. Was this organic, designed, or need-based?
Up to ISI, it was parental organized education. I studied quantitative economics in Indian Statistical Institute. Mm-hmm. So up to that, I think was the regular stuff that everybody else is doing. I got placed as an actuary. My first job was from the campus with ICICI Prudential. And till that point, I did not know what actuaries do or what that means. But into the job, I realized that I also need to study to clear 15 very difficult exams where the pass rates are oftentimes 2% and 3% globally. And so that set on another round of academics for me. So I am a qualified associate actuary. I had a burnout as you can assume and maybe, explain through my course of stuff that I was doing.
Yeah.
Then I took a sabbatical thinking I will go back to work in 6 months. I'll just get better and go back. But then the education that happened was purely organic, and even more than organic, I think it was a seeking of some kind. It combined many things. I feel the biggest education that happened was me going to Vipassana 6 times over, something that cannot perhaps be listed on a CV like you read it out for me. But 10 days of noble silence each time, going deep inside and understanding stuff. So that I feel was the biggest education of all. I have been a very curious person otherwise, and I have always loved to read and study, be it fiction, non-fiction. Like I have a very curious mind. So I did start to study a whole lot of psychology, philosophy, quantum physics, a whole lot of leadership, self-development, personal growth, transformation. So these were all linked in some way, starting with the connection between the mind and the body, all the way to how we act, react, respond, what is right, what is wrong. I was trying to make sense of what happened to me, but that ended me here, I guess.
That's fabulous. How has it helped you become the well-rounded person that you are?
That's a very interesting question, because this time I was led by perhaps something like, there is this concept in Finland. I read it somewhere that they have a phenomenon-based education structure.
They have, sorry?
A phenomenon-based education structure.
Yeah. Where is this
in Finland, the Finnish education system.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means that they learn what they need to learn to be able to do what they want to do. I feel that last half a dozen years of my life, since the time I left my job, has been more on that front. I was reading something and then there would be a reference at the acknowledgement, and then I would be reading the other thing. Or I would be watching something, I would be growing from everything that was around me without a very definitive career path in mind, but generally being curious and accepting and applying that also at the same time. A part of that education, of course, has been that when Elixir came out, so Elixir was first a short film, then it was made into a short film. It was first a short story made into a short film, which was screened at Cannes. And when we came back after walking the red carpet, I was asked to write it into a book by a traditional publisher. So around that time, then I started to read up a lot about creative writing, novel writing, building characters, context, climax. And then I felt that why is it restricted only to people who are writing novels? Because everybody needs that perspective, or writing other people's emotion, understanding other people, stepping into their shoes. So I wondered what would happen if corporates understood this. I was also getting invited to to speak at good places, including TEDx, as well as getting invited to Accelerate to talk on gender, glass ceilings, etc. And that set off another path of reading and understanding more about organization, culture, women, of course, but the ecosystem that supports men, women all together. And then I realized that is linked to this. So everything was at the end of the day linked to each other. I am not the first person to be realizing this, I'm sure, but it did help me to create, some kind of a dot joining process.
So, what problem would you say you are here to solve?
I'm here on earth to solve the problem of lack of authenticity. I feel that we are all photoshopping ourselves all the time. It's not something new. We have done that historically, like work life different from personal life, different from social life. And it didn't help us. So now people are coming home to the fact that we need to be more authentic, more humanized, more broken, more messy, more crazy. I found my superpower is in the fact that I'm very okay to say, okay, so this is how I feel. So that is where I feel if I can touch more lives and inspire more people to do that, it will change the language we are speaking. It will change the narrative that is going around, and we will stop being cruel to ourselves to show up well to the world.
I so agree with what you're saying. You've just validated a thought process I have, that we all need to understand that each one of us is a little crazy and a little broken in some aspect. Yes. And the day we all accept it is the day we will become more empathetic and kinder towards each other. Yeah.
You cannot be visible to others unless you are visible to yourself. And we take so much care to be visible to others that we Photoshop ourselves and become less visible to ourselves. So
True.
the process of personal branding is such a commercial term. Nobody talk about understanding yourself so that you can show up authentically. So
Yes.
that is where I'm trying to build up my work through storytelling, because I feel that at the end of the day, it is about the stories I'm telling inside my head, the stories I'm telling outside, the stories I'm writing on social media, the pictures I'm posting. So storytelling is my instrument. That is what I operate with. And my goal is authenticity. I hope to be able to create a shift in narrative, like the leaders, the people in the community at home, they should be more humanized and more normalized. That is my goal.
Would you say that people really need hand-holding in telling their stories? And is that why you came up, you started Lighthouse?
People need hand-holding in storytelling.
Why?
We are, the reason being that there isn't any structure to telling a story. We have been taught to hush up and listen to the teachers and write 5 marks or 7 marks or 12 marks answers on answer scripts.
Yep.
We have not been taught to explain and articulate. If you think of it, there is always a production-based, meritocracy, but nobody teaches you how to talk so that the other person understands, feels understood, empathy is created, compassion is created. There is no training as such. It depends on our human goodness. The other part of the problem is that human attention span is very less. How long do you or I take to just scroll past a video or a long post without reading it? There is a science, there is a method behind the madness. If you read something that touches your heart, there is a raw honesty in that, but there is also an art and a craft behind it. How it has been written, how it resonated with you. So any story that needs to be told, even in 2 lines or in 2 pages or on the TEDx or in the boardroom or even in conversations in the community.
Right.
When you tell it better, people listen to you.
Lovely. So, what would you say is this single event that has had the biggest impact on Sinjini and what she is today?
My falling ill, for sure, no doubt about that. I would have said motherhood because motherhood is transformational. However, this and that happened around the same time. I felt very unwell. I had fibromyalgia. I was a step away from quadriplegia. Actually, my cervical spine and my lumbar spine was all broken. And the medical system that it is, in order to fix the spine, they were breaking my liver. So then, the gallbladder got removed. Then there was hypertension. Then there was fatty liver. Then there was major depressive disorder. And the doctors were feeding me with medicines that were counterproductive. So I was taking medicine to go to sleep and to wake up at the same time because there was alertnet boosters and then there was nerve relaxants, muscle relaxants, sedatives. I couldn't sleep without sleeping pills. I couldn't survive the day without antidepressants. So there was this time that I came through. And I'm sure the person who came out of it is very different than the person who went into it.
And are you all completely healed now?
I am, I don't identify with it anymore. There are, of course, certain conditions that require a few pills in a day, but I don't identify with being ill as a person now.
Fabulous. I love the spirit that you speak that with. So, what would you say?
No, it happens to so many of us. We don't speak often about it. I think chronic illness, like I have fibromyalgia, which is an autoimmune condition, I think it is very common, but we don't talk enough about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that the mind and body are so connected that these chronic illnesses are so much psychosomatic rather than being physiological.
I agree. I agree with that. I have seen cases of asthma. I have seen cases of more immune disorders, which are all allergies, anxiety, which I also go through at times. So definitely, yeah. So, what as to you is humanity's goal?
What according
Spoke
to
about
humanity's
authenticity and communication, authentic communication.
It won't be their goal unless they embrace it as their goal. Some people might be perfectly happy not communicating and living the life they are at. I believe the readiness level, the circumstances are all very different and we all have different coping mechanisms. Some of us shut up to be able to cope. Some of us are broken open. So I wonder if there is a single goal. I, at least for talking for myself, I don't think I know about it. I feel that, don't harm anything. I mean, travel light, don't harm anything. At times we, of course, impose ourselves on others, on the system. We feel entitled. I feel a little, it's a difficult question. I really don't have one answer to it, but I feel that wherever a person is, they're on their own journey. I mean, I cannot be comparing my page 17 with your page 62. So we should stop, stop trying to even think that we are all walking the same road, forget, rat racing.
It's a good example, page 16 to page 72. Sinjini, one thing that we didn't mention but didn't speak more on is Lighthouse. Would you like to tell me in a few points what you do at Lighthouse?
Right, yes, sure. I'm very excited to talk about that.
Yeah.
At Lighthouse, I help leaders, founders, change makers, individuals, speakers to tell their authentic story. I help them to discover the story from introspection, retrospection, and from their lives and professional spheres. I help them design the story. I help them connect with people with the language, with the non-verbal and the verbal and the vocal language. And then I help them to create that personality, to be able to become that leader, that founder, who can own their story and use it to their advantage. So I help people tell their authentic story so that they become better leaders, they become authentic brands, and they become more creative individuals.
What is the bond that you create with them? Because you are, in a manner of speaking, leading them on a journey of becoming raw with you, becoming open with you, becoming bare with you and open to judgment. And at the end of it, what is the connect that you form with them?
That's a very endearing question. Thank you for asking me that. For all the cohorts that we did, there has been ample amount of tears shed and hands held, even if virtually at times. There have been very intimate stories that were told, a lot of healing that happened. I call my sessions a virtual bonfire because many people, they come in thinking that I will use the story to build marketing. They do that, but that's a smaller part of it. When finally they get the stage for the open mic at the end of the program, I invite them for open mic. They inevitably start talking about something from their, something very personal, something that triggered them on a second career, why they do what they do, talking about one small part of something that happened that changed their life. So it's a very intimate process, and the relationship that happens is not just with me, but also among themselves. I start my session with collecting the standard GST, which is goodwill, safety, and trust. So the, not untold but told rule of my any program or workshop that I do is that there has to be goodwill, there has to be safety, emotional safety, and trust. And also the very important fact that not all stories are ready to be told in public.
Yeah.
So there are some exercises which are self-explorative, and I constantly tell them that you should now decide which one needs to go out and which one needs to be burnt up or torn up or trashed, because they're not all stories need to be told to everybody. So that judgment definitely goes out when you are curating a personal brand or when you are talking in public.
Yeah.
But I feel the healing process needs us to be very open. So there is the me story, then there is the my story for personal brand, then there is the tribe story for change making, and then there is the world story, social awareness, etc. So this happens in phases.
What is Toastmasters and why you celebrated there?
Toastmaster is a non-profit global organization which is designed on public speaking and some bit of organizing, managerial leadership. So essentially, Toastmaster clubs are everywhere. About 8 to 20 members come together weekly, and then they deliver speeches, they get evaluated, they do impromptu talking, etc. So in my life, Toastmaster happened at the time when I just left my job, and it was very well timed because that was the first place where I was not being reprimanded for talking. I remember as a child, my report card would always carry a little comment from the teacher, talks too much and can do better. So I feel that Toastmaster was the very first place in my life where I could get the stage, I could talk, and people would listen. And you can imagine what it does to somebody who is going through major depressive disorder and had just left a job and was actually, embracing a totally new identity, because I did not even imagine myself to be somebody not working, not being busy. I have always been a nerd. I have always been a topper at schools and colleges, etc. So for me, it came at a very good time. It helped me to understand the power of storytelling. Everything serves its own lifetime. So I was a Toastmaster for a long time, and I took from it what was for me. Not everything is for everybody. Then now I get a lot of invites to Toastmaster clubs to do conference speaking, etc. But I am not a regular member. So I became a distinguished Toastmaster, and then I got busy with my work. But speaking and writing, when I wrote my novel, and when it became a film, when it was quite celebrated, like it became a very well-known book.
Yeah.
These two pieces together came to become my miracle. I felt that people who write are introverts, known to be like stereotyped to be introverts who don't talk as much. And people who talk and want to become public speakers, they don't often take enough time to be introspective and insightful and think and read. They are more, on the stage, and it's a little fist pump in the air model. It's a little too like look at me, I have done this, but it's not so deep and soft. Marrying these two ideas together gave me a lot of extra mileage.
Interesting. What do you give your voice to publicly? And why do you do?
I give my voice to the idea that we need to own our voice. I feel that if women's perspective, we have so many organizations, so many people who are working so actively and so rightly on getting seats at the table. But at times, getting the seats at the table. But even despite that, at times we don't have the voice at the table. Because voice is another matter. Even if we get a seat at the table, at times we might not be able to articulate and place our perspective different from the rest of the room. It's very important to find the voice. And not just for women, even for men, for people who work very hard, at times they feel my work was not visible. Somebody else took credit. Right. I feel having the voice in any matter, at home, as a child, with parent, having the voice is a very democratic process, and it is very useful.
Got that. Yeah. So some quick fire questions.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Head or heart? Because you are a nerd, but you are talking about heart.
I cannot choose between the two. It's really right. A 50-50 of both. I am quite analytical, and I have a huge background in finance and economics and mathematics. I feel the two need to come together. It was in our culture, it was never separate. It was always science and philosophy were together. It's a new idea that head and heart are separate.
Most important moment since you started Lighthouse?
Cracking the Goldman Sachs 10K Women program and Indian School of Business. Yeah. So I got incubated with IIM Bangalore for 13 months. Yeah. The Goldman Sachs program at ISB had a very different criteria. It required 3 years and 35 lakhs of revenue per annum for 3 years, etc. And by that time, my venture was about 7 months old. So I applied thinking that it's not going to happen, but they were very impressed with the Lighthouse.
Lovely. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What can you never give up?
My voice.
Sorry?
My voice.
Is marriage important?
only if it supports your individual quest. If it doesn't, it is very dispensable. I don't think it is essential. Only if it supports your needs, it could be a good companionship and a good support system, because we are all interdependent, but that doesn't mean that we need to give more than we take.
Interesting. What can make or break Sinjini?
Health, I guess.
What
Health can definitely take away all of it, or give back many times more. I have seen it close up.
What are your values?
My biggest value, I feel, is authenticity.
When are you happiest?
I feel very happy when people, on the last session of my program, when I see all of them come out and tell stories and cry their way through it, audience cry their way through it, each of them, pause with deep introspection, and each of them go out as a changed person.
No one regret.
Not regret. I don't have any yet now, and I feel extremely fulfilled doing what I'm doing right now.
5 things on your bucket list.
One definitely is business development. Two is to be able to create a model that stays beyond. Personally, definitely, some vacations are long listed, good places. I mean, we could go on and on. Afraid on that. I am quite, I'm very risk averse. I'm that my daughter, has a very good life.
That's a good mix of personal and professional. So what is the one thing you've not told anyone?
That's a difficult one. I practice being authentic. So if I remember something that I needed to tell, I would have told.
Why did you agree to come on Life Begins at 40?
At your show, you mean?
Yes, by Sanjana Grover.
Yeah, why not? You reached out to me. I was very happy to oblige, and definitely, why not?
And I thank you for your time and sharing your life with me and our viewers.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. You are doing wonderful work. It has been a very happy conversation, and I hope that you do and you get whatever you wish for. I'm all my heart to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.